It gives me great pleasure to introduce you to our next speaker, Mr. Clint Carnell. Clint is the CEO of the HydraFacial company, and I had the honor of interviewing him for this event. Clint has been the CEO of the HydraFacial company since 2016 and has been pivotal to the growth of HydraFacial internationally all around the world. I have had the HydraFacial device and system for 4.5 years now, and we now have 3 devices, all working at the core of our patient skin health. We use HydraFacial for skin preparation, skin optimization, and for a guaranteed skin glow. One of the many things that the HydraFacial company do well is they have a great understanding of consumer insight. And this is why they have created a device that has evolved over the years to really understand patient needs and wants, and it delivers all the time. One of the many things that I really gained from my conversation with Clint is it doesn't stand still, and we're going to watch it evolve once again. In 2020, we saw the launch of HydraFacial Keravive, the brand new treatment designed for scalp health. With that growing from strength to strength at S-Thetics, our patients can now enjoy the benefit of better quality skin on their face, on their scalp. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Clint Carnell.
Nice to see you.
There you are. It's so wonderful to see you again. And, thank you so much for your time today. I'm so excited that you're going to be sharing this space with me at our 5th year patient education event. How are you?
I'm doing great, and thank you for the invitation. It's an honor.
Thank you very much. Well, Clint, I think today I wanted to spend some time with you, and I really appreciate the time that you've given me. I know how busy you are in your schedule as well, and greetings all the way from a sunny England, and there you are in California. How's the weather out there?
It's always fairly perfect here, so we're a little bit spoiled, and when it starts to sprinkle, we swear there's going to be a flood, so I can appreciate it. But I grew up in Seattle, Sharina, so not that far off of London's weather.
Not far off. Okay, well, greetings from Buckinghamshire. I'm actually about 45 minutes outside of London, and we're really excited to be hosting our 5th year patient education event. But I'd love to give you a little bit of insight as to what all this is about. So Clint, just to give you an idea, every year I host an event. It all started 5 years ago when I launched my clinic, S-Thetics, in Buckinghamshire, not too far away. And the focus of my practice was all about patient education. What we do in the practice, patients may want to have, they need to have it, but they may not be able to understand why they're really having it. So it's all about bringing that information to the consumer, to our audience, to our patients, so that they can really understand why they're having the treatments that they're having. And that way they can connect, they can engage, they can understand, and they will actually get a better experience and a better result fundamentally. So 5 years ago, that was the sole purpose. And every year we've started with a micro event, and those micro events became 2 to 4 to 6, and then we had 75 guests, 85, 95, and last year we had 200. And obviously with everything shut down now, we use technology, and I'm so appreciative that we can connect this way. So I hope we're going to get much more. So this is our first actual big virtual event that we're hosting. And what I really wanted to do this year was to take on to a next level what we did last year. So last year's event, we hosted it in this beautiful country house, and we called it Beyond the Facelift. And it was bringing all of our key partner suppliers together in all of the technologies, topicals, and treatments that we have at the clinic, so we can demystify, engage, and inspire our patients, and they loved it. Obviously, with everything that we're doing now, we can't bring you to England and host it in this beautiful country house, but we will, and I hope you can come one day. But what I really wanted to do was to take this educational format and to take it next level by bringing into play the likes of you, and to really look at the men and the women and the teams and the companies behind the brands. And it's all the brands that we have in the practice, the treatments that our patients trust. And I know that they would love to hear this from you. HydraFacial is a core part of S-Thetics. I believe in the pillars of my practice, which is the foundation of skin health. So your device, and actually your 3 devices now over the last 5 years, are a key fundamental part of all of the treatments that we have, whether it is topical skincare formulations, whether it is even my facial fillers. I always prep my patients pre-facial fillers with your HydraFacial all the time.
Awesome.
It's the foundation. And then also pre-lasers, pre-microneedling radiofrequency, all of that. So our patients believe in the treatment, they believe in the technology and the science, and they see the results. But I think what they want to hear is not from me. They want to hear from the man behind the brand. So Mr. Clint Carnell, can you tell our audience a little bit about you, please?
Sure. And Sharina, thanks. It doesn't surprise me this has been successful. And I love what you're doing, even the language that you use in consumers and patients, because I think, you know, you've become a thought leader of how do we make things more simple for people? How do we educate them, gain their trust, and then we can guide them through the journey better. So I think that's one of the things the HydraFacial company and brand have in common with yours. And so pleased to be here. Pleased to be here. A little about me. My name is Clint Carnell. I've been in the aesthetics business for about 15 years now, which is kind of scary to say. I was involved before HydraFacial with Solta Medical, developing the Thermage, Fraxel, Clearing, brilliant brands. I would say I'm a classic entrepreneur, and then I actually own a chain of treatment shops in the United States with Dr. Grant Stevens. We have 15 in 4 different states. So I'm both a provider as well as a manufacturer CEO. And all that means is I'm getting old, and I've been doing this for a while, but I've watched a fantastic migration in healthcare being very consumer centric, and I think that's a global phenomenon. I started my career in ophthalmology with IOLAB, which was Johnson & Johnson, Gambro, through dialysis, and then back to Bausch & Lomb before entering aesthetics. And I've become known as someone who, if there's a consumer appetite or interest in a healthcare treatment, how do you use the physician channel to go get those consumers, turn them into patients, and bring them into the funnel? So it's a little bit about me. HydraFacial, I've been here about 4 years now, and the company's really been on a nice run. And I'm sure we'll get into why, but part of it is what you're doing. It's just we try to educate people, bring them in through your doors, and they're in good hands after that.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. I think there is so much there in your past, what you've done, and you've got a wealth of experience from healthcare to being in the manufacturing side, but you also run your own clinics as well. So you're on that side of the patient journey, the patient experience. And so you're effectively bridging the gap real time with Dr. Grant. Yes.
Yes. You know, it's interesting. Grant Stevens and I founded the company back in 2015. I'd been doing work for Covidien, which was, I think, the 7th largest healthcare company at the time. And they wanted to decide if they were going to get into aesthetics and what to acquire. And so we spent, millions of dollars, and I had a full team, and we researched the category across the globe. And at that time, it was late 2014. It just showed there was an enormous wave of people that wanted to come in this category. But when you screened out for Botox, there was only single-digit awareness of any of these treatments. So while we think we know, everybody knows about this, if you ask 100 people, only 8 people know any of these brands outside of Botox. When you tell them what they do, 8 out of 10 people want to try these treatments. And then when you ask who has a dermoplastic, in the US, less than 15 out of 100 people have a dermatologist or plastic surgeon. So we started these based upon what about if we made them ground level, accessible, and treated people like consumers, even though it is a healthcare facility, what would happen? And we've grown to 15, soon to be 16 centers. I've learned a ton. I have a lot more respect, Sharina, for what you and your peers do, because it's tough, but it's been a fascinating journey.
Oh, that's fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. You talked about that whole experience of a patient maybe not knowing about the brand. I have to say, we get inquiries every single day from patients who actually don't know about my own clinic, but who request the brand HydraFacial, the treatment, every single day, whether it's by social media, or whether it's by email, by our contact submission, by the website. The brand is strong, and it certainly has a big brand presence, not just from here, but obviously globally. But one of the interesting things you mentioned was something I refer to as a curse of knowledge. So we think everybody knows about what we do. And as you said, 8 out of 100 do, and the rest actually don't. Hence, the educational element is so key, right?
Yeah, we've worked really hard. I've been doing this for a while, and I think the manufacturers have not done a particularly good job of helping to demystify the category. I think there's a lot of confusion out there. I think we use fancy words to try to get to the consumer. I would say the physician channel has struggled also with that. One of the things when we acquired the company 4 years ago, we renamed it, we rebranded it, and to me, I mean, I'm in the business, but I'm confused when I get home with my skincare regimen. So we tried very hard to do one thing, and that is just to make it easy, make it simple to understand, and get people in the door. And the reason that's the case is because we really don't have any natural competitors. We make everything that you do better. We're sort of like the canvas that you have an opportunity to paint upon. So we've tried to be an and company. So it's HydraFacial and whatever else that consumer needs from you. We've tried to work with our partners to simplify the message. And 3 steps, 30 minutes, best skin of your life. It means something and it means nothing. But all we want is for consumers to go, wow, that sounds like time that I can give. Cleanse, extract, and hydrate are things that I need. And that sounds like somebody I want to go to. So our sole goal is to get more people through your door, because once they're there and they learn about the wonderful things you can do, it becomes part of their lifestyle. And that's the exciting thing to me.
I completely agree with you, Clint, on the lifestyle component part of it. And I have to say, this has become a part of my lifestyle. I had my team give me one this afternoon, just so I could be here, because I wanted to not just look a certain way, but I wanted to feel a certain way as well.
Yeah, you'll see more from us. We, I think we're a category creator, but you'll see us define the HydraFacial company exists to deliver beauty health experiences to consumers everywhere, whenever, wherever, and forever they want. And we call it beauty health because I think, 15 years ago, these were considered narcissistic treatments, or you were trying to fix something you didn't like about yourself. And I think they were viewed upon in a negative light. 15 years later, it's clear that consumer has changed and the perception of these treatments. And I think that manufacturers have tried to convince women, here's what it's like to be beautiful. And I think the consumers push back and say, look, beauty is just part of my overall health. And when I feel good, I look good, and I am beautiful. And I think we kind of have been really fortunate to be part creating and participating in that kind of renewed sense of a natural approach to making yourself look and feel good, otherwise known as beautiful. And Karl Lagerfeld once remarked that there's no such thing as an ugly woman, just an unkept one. And that always resonates with me when I think about HydraFacial and what we're able to do and helping to unlock people's just natural skin and allow them to take part in the journey with you on whatever they want to do for themselves.
I have to say, I love that one. I'm going to keep that one. Thank you very much. And one of the things that when I reflect on is, why did I bring HydraFacial into my practice? And 15 years ago, I wasn't aware. I was a doctor in what I call the National Health Service here in the UK, and I'm a surgeon by trade. But I was going to get married in 2007, which I did, and I wanted something. I wanted something to make me look good, make me feel good. It's the biggest day of my life, right? And I went for one consultation somewhere else, and they suggested a whole bunch of things that I didn't feel comfortable or maybe even ready yet back then. And then I went somewhere else, and they suggested a HydraFacial. So I went and had it, but I drove 2.5 hours to get this facial treatment. And I have to say, when I had it and I felt it, I fell in love with it. And the next day and the next day and the next day, I just loved the result. But it was actually the experience of the science that I was told at the time by someone really good, but the concept of bringing tech into my beauty, I'd never experienced before.
That's awesome. Listen, I wish I could package you up and put you on a video for us, because what you described is exactly what we try to accomplish. If 10 people who have not had a HydraFacial get a HydraFacial, 2/3 are sticky and 1/3 become super consumers. And what we've tried to do is just make it really simple. There's some fascinating research we've been doing where the consumer doesn't trust our category. And the more you push on them, the less trustworthy we appear. So we've just tried to tell people, hey, I do it with Orange Twist. When people call me and say, hey, I want some Botox to make my lips look more full. I mean, how many times do you get stuff like that, right? We just say, oh, that sounds great. Why don't you come in? We'll give you a HydraFacial on us. And during that consultation, tell us what's bugging you. And that we use at Orange Twist the way that I recommend to a lot of our partners out there, because HydraFacial is just simply the baseline for everything. And when they're there for 30 or 45 minutes or an hour, and you're able to consult with them and it feels good, they look good, you show them the gunky, you've really instilled trust, and you're able to have a lot more permission with that consumer to introduce them to what they really need. And I think we'll continue to do that globally, working with our partners. And I think it's a winning formula. I think a lot of the science and the manufacturers, and even when you go to trade shows and the marketing, confuses that consumer. And the more we can simplify it, the more. I mean, I don't want to know how airplanes really fly. I just want to know that they take off and they land.
Yes, absolutely. Well, you know, going back to 2007, I have to say, once I had it and I felt it, I just knew I had to have it in my practice one day. So lo and behold, we're now 5 years in. I brought HydraFacial in on the 4th of February 2016. I remember the date really well because the UK team, Martin, Ron, Banu here in the UK, they hosted a beautiful red carpet event and it just flew. 9 months later, we got our second device. We now have 3 devices and it is embedded into the DNA of the practice. And awesome. It's interesting when you say, you know, blending it with other treatment modalities, and, you know, eye treatment blend all the time. And it's important because I would say majority of even my facial filler patients will and must have a HydraFacial treatment to prep their skin pre-filler and then to optimize it post-treatment as well. And that really drives our results even better 5 years down the line. They just look better. Yeah.
I totally agree. And I definitely notice when we haven't been flying, but I notice when I'm flying, I'm not sleeping well, or I've been, you know, out a lot of nights. HydraFacial makes me, first of all, it feels great. I almost always fall asleep when it's being done. I get up, they show me the gunky, my skin is glowing. That works the same when I start noticing that I need a neurotoxin, or, you know, I did fillers for the first time a couple months ago, and that's exactly what the Orange Twist team said. They said, hey, I'm just actually, Shireen, I'm turning 51 today. Today's my birthday. And the team down there was like, hey, we just noticed your face is a little more hollow. We think we really could make you a little more youthful if we did X, Y, Z. But first, let's do a HydraFacial so you look great and you're glowing. And it was, you know, I, for the first time, was a patient or a consumer that was nervous about fillers because I'd never done them. And they made me feel comfortable knowing that I get a HydraFacial and I'd look great afterwards. And it turned out to my satisfaction.
Oh, you look fantastic. You look healthy.
Thanks.
I think that's the main thing. Everybody just wants to look healthy, as opposed to necessarily looking younger and looking distorted, obviously. And when you have one, you certainly feel that emotional connection with that provider that you're with. I could talk to you all day, but I think I've got to stick to my questions. So I've got a few key questions for you because I love talking about and I love understanding patient behavior, consumer behavior, consumer and so much of it. I have certainly seen so much of it in the last 5 years in my practice, but you know, there's been a lot going on in 2020, obviously with the pandemic and so forth. And I think the main thing that I've done here is stay connected with my patients during the lockdown and even now. And your team here in the UK and Europe have stayed connected with us in a huge way. And I'd love to know, you know, how do you stay connected to your audience and your consumers? Because you do this on a global basis. And what kind of trends have you seen evolve in the recent months?
Yeah, it's been tremendously challenging, and we were not unaffected. You know, the HydraFacial company, we had to furlough when it first hit in April, about 80% of our employees. We made a couple strategic decisions that I think have benefited us now. One is that I left more leadership in place than you typically would. My belief at the time was that we would bounce back and recover more quickly than people were indicating. And I wanted good leadership because I felt if we had good leadership and the business came back, they could hire the people, they could help me stay connected. And so that's worked out really well for us. I mean, Kate, I think, is leading a really fine team in the UK for Europe. Martin and Ron are fantastic, Caroline, Anna. So we're really, really pleased with our EMEA team, our APAC team. You know, Zoom, who knew, right? We were all wondering whether we wanted to do FaceTime, but the Zoom boom's real. I think it's helping our business because, you know, millennials, we thought they were a little narcissistic when they were doing selfies and they were doing all these early treatments. Turns out they were visionaries because now that all of us 51-year-olds are on Zoom looking at our face all the time, I have a lot of my friends who didn't know what I did, but now are asking me about it and getting their HydraFacials, getting toxins, getting fillers, lasers. So I think the macro for our space is I'm incredibly bullish. I think HydraFacial will be an important participant in that. I think people are still nervous. So it's important that we emphasize safety first, that we don't push the envelope too much on these things, because the consumer's wanting to feel cared for. They want to participate in this. They want to go back into your practice. So I think the macro is good. We just got to manage through the government shutdowns, the concern about second and third waves, but we'll get through this. I joked earlier off camera with you that we're one day closer to normal, and that's the way I wake up every day, because sitting here worried about what we're in right now, I think it's safe to say we all want to see 2020 go bye-bye, but it is what it is. So we're back at full force. We brought back every one of our employees that we had furloughed, and our business is really doing well. Our leads are actually higher than they were pre-pandemic. So we think that translates into sales, and really pleased to have the support of people like yourself that stayed engaged with us, that have been amazingly gracious. And, I think we're keeping the HydraFacial nation strong globally.
You're absolutely doing that, in full scale as well. And I have to say, when we did go into lockdown, the main thing that your UK team and Caroline and Kate, did was stay connected with us a lot, really. Zoom certainly helped. And, again, we're bringing tech into our lives. And that whole concept of staying connected helped someone like myself feel confident, confident that we were going to navigate through that environment, because we didn't know what to do. We didn't realize the way in which we had to shut down our devices. So that was articulated with us, and the way we were going to communicate with each other as colleagues as well. So we did that loads, and I have to say a big congratulations to, Caroline and everybody for a fantastic live that they did back in April. That was wonderful to be a part of. And that, a global connection as well. We got to connect with so many of your colleagues from all around the world, other doctors as well. That was fantastic.
I'll tell you, it was, look, I was scared as hell like anyone else. And, we went through a massive furlough. And at the same time, we had an obligation as one of the leaders in the category, and we have almost 17,000 providers globally. We treat over 3.5 million faces a year. Somebody had to show leadership, and I'm actually pretty pleased. One is I'm incredibly thankful for my leadership team and the way they acted and treated our customers globally. Really pleased and so proud of them. But I'm also appreciative of a lot of the, not really competitors, but my peers in the category. We had a lot of joint conference calls. Everybody put down their weapons that they use on a competitive daily basis to work united. And that's been really exciting. I've also been on some of the calls with the large med spa chains where we try to ensure that we were helping the smaller mom and pops understand safety protocols and sharing the information we could. So we tried to use the resources we had, the connectivity we had, to help people feel better and learn their way through it. Because, most of my friends are physicians, and they were scared like me. And we just kind of have been working through it together. And that will be the silver lining at the end of all of this, is that empathy, compassion, commitment to one another, I think has really been, really pretty joyful in my view.
Well, I just want to say from my note, thank you so much for sharing that with me as a clinic owner, as a business owner. It's really humbling to hear that from you. So thank you from me. And then moving on to where we are now, actually. So where we are now is we're probably about 3 months post-lockdown, Clint, and it has been wonderful to get our patients back. We always have this fear. Are our patients going to come back? Number one, are they going to feel comfortable and safe coming back? And like yourself, we worked really hard to pull all of that together, to do what we have to do to get the consumers feeling calm, cool, confident, and, just wanting to go. And I have to say they are. But now more than ever, as you said earlier with the Zoom boom, patients want results. They want results faster than ever. They want results yesterday. So we have to deliver even more precision and more measurable results and more predictable results. So I'm lucky. I have close to almost 5 years of HydraFacial experience, which we've been able to track with Canfield's Visia skin analysis. So we've got some fantastic before and afters. So we should be able to now, and which we do, tell patients, well, if you follow this, this is what you should be able to get. So patients come to us because they know it's a brand that they can trust. And we're the middleman, we're the middle ground. and we're delivering that service that they believe in as well. Do you feel that, now more than ever, it's about brands you can trust, it's about that self-care, patients wanting to really, really invest in themselves with the treatments that they believe in?
Absolutely. I think you're going to see from the HydraFacial company really supercharging what we did pre-pandemic. So we have launched a full-on HydraFacial university with an online learning module as well as bricks and mortar around the world. The reason for that is a well-trained provider scores much higher with the consumer for all the reasons you talked about with your first HydraFacial. If you have a knowledgeable provider, you give a good HydraFacial, they'll tell their friends and they'll tell their friends. So we've invested a lot in education, but probably the most single greatest investment we're going to be making are in three buckets. One is international infrastructure. So if you're watching from the UK or one of our other European country partners, a lot of investment in sales and marketing and training in facilities and EMEA and APAC. So international infrastructure. Second, direct-to-consumer marketing. We have a platform and a digital expertise globally that can allow us to go out there, make people aware of HydraFacial, because then they'll find you. And if we marry our two brands together, that can be very powerful. And the third area is technology. And when I say technology, this is a very meaningful way. We're looking to connect our consumers and our providers whenever, wherever, and forever. So you'll see the next generation of HydraFacials have Wi-Fi connectivity with RFID, so you know what's being treated anytime. We'll continue to improve our app, which will include a skin indicator so that people know where they sit in kind of the skin health pyramid. You'll be able to book potentially online. You'll be able to plot where you are in the journey, maybe even some gamification. So we really want to take this consumer ecosystem and ensure that we're driving the consumers into our providers and use technology to make that happen on a constant basis. So I think I'm proud of what we've accomplished, but I think if you see HydraFacial 2 years from now, you'll see a company that's much better known globally by consumers. Consumers will be touching us at multiple touch points, and ultimately we'll be able to help guide them through the journey with you so that they know how they're doing. If you think about Peloton as an example out there, it's a bike, but it's the connectivity and it's the community and it's how you're doing relative to what your goals are. And I think that HydraFacial has that same ability to be the most connected influencing company in the skin health category, and increasingly skin and scalp health, because I think both are very confusing categories that we can help. So that when somebody comes in your door, Sharina, they're better prepared and more knowledgeable. So it's an easier catch for you, and that's our pure goal.
Wow, fantastic! I mean, you've just you're just taking the words right out of my mouth. I was wondering what was going to happen for the future for HydraFacial, and you're 2 years ahead of the game already. And it's the innovation. That's what I love about everything that we do in aesthetics, as a whole. There's innovation every single day, and I'm excited to hear Wi-Fi connectivity via my devices.
Yeah, well, we'll be able to, Tesla has done a nice job where every day you get in your car and it's a new car. I mean, there's no reason. We don't want to necessarily sell you more HydraFacial systems. We want you treating more consumers. And then if you fill up that HydraFacial system, it's great if you purchase another one. But our ability to update that and improve it, continue to make your system better is our goal. We look at innovation, system innovation, serum innovation, and then business innovation. On the serum side, we're making a huge push for clean beauty, more sustainable packaging, new ingredients, and we'll have more serums that will be both democratizing the category, but also personalizing the category. And while we've been at it for 3.5 years, we're still pretty young under my leadership, but I think our physician partners are going to see some fantastic opportunities out there to continue to personalize the treatment for various skin conditions, to have your consumers on a regimen that will allow them to be more compliant and see the results, more clinical evidence that this works when used as a maintenance tool. So I'm really excited about the future. And, some of it I have to keep behind closed doors, but for the most part, we're a big believer of just sharing and being an and company and helping more people come into the category, because we're really such a small business considering how enormous the opportunity is. And we just got a long way to go working with our partners to do that.
Gosh, thank you so much again. You mentioned the word clean beauty. You know your consumer behavior incredibly well, and I'd love for you to share so much more with that with me. So when I think about clean beauty, I think about my patients here in the practice. And now with all the Zoom, you're right, people are looking at themselves more, so they certainly want to come in, and that could be all age spectrums, whether it's 21 to 71. My oldest patient is 78. She's incredible. And we have a lot of that, and they're coming back in wanting clean beauty. Clean beauty for our patients is they want to go barefaced chic, and there's no better way to go barefaced chic than with kind of the technology of the beauty, which is the system HydraFacial delivers. So do you see more and more of that coming your way from consumer behavior?
Yeah, I think some really cool things. One is we're just very fortunate. HydraFacial has been around since '05, but it's strange. It was almost like a futuristic product. We treat more people of color. As aesthetics has been such a white female category, and it's just so much fun to broaden it out. And if you go on our website globally, you can just see a ton of diversity. And we try very hard with our employee base as well. So we look on the inside like we look on the outside. That's a lot of fun. There's a lot more men. I have a 19 and a 16-year-old. My 19-year-old daughter, my 16-year-old son, they have the same skincare regimen. And I think that's a really cool thing that we're seeing globally. And then the push that you're seeing in other product categories, a push on knowing your ingredients and using less of them. And then also sustainable packaging. And, we started to hear from our youngest providers, a lot of estheticians, like, hey, you need better packaging and you need more clean beauty. And they were just at the tip of the, proverbial spear. So we're working to make our packaging more consumer friendly and more exciting for our providers. It doesn't have to be ugly just because we're in healthcare. We're looking to make our ingredients more understandable. And when there's specific clinical reasons to use one of our serums, to make sure that you understand the clinical evidence is behind that. So you'll always have a HydraFacial that will cleanse, extract, and hydrate. How we personalize that and how we track the consumer's journey, I think is where you'll really see an evolution for us. And then how do we connect them to the business? I was on a panel the other day with a fascinating entrepreneur, Kim Ko, who runs a company called Even Prime. And she's a gamification expert. She was at Google. She said that 55% of the time people are on their smartphone, it's for games. Yeah. And the average gamer is 34 years old, and there's more females than males. I thought that was fascinating. So she believes that you can do gamification through skin health, and I believe the same thing. So you'll see things that will make skincare a lot more fun and more friendly, so that when they come into your practice, in your spa, that they're much more knowledgeable, and that's that's just gonna be an evolution. I don't think that's gonna go away anytime soon.
Well, I think that's all a good thing. Thanks for that insight, because our patients certainly want to be much more informed now more than ever. They want to be more empowered with the information even before they make the decision. And we have a rule in the clinic. Well, I enforce the rule, I guess, is when we have a new patient coming into the practice, please don't let them fall asleep, because we have to take that opportunity when they're there to impart the knowledge, really explain the purpose and benefit behind every single step. So, as much as they would love to come and be pampered and to relax, etc., for that first few steps, just empower them through education, explain them, and then finally, when it comes to the LEDs at the end, then they can switch off. Yeah. That's so cute.
No, I mean, you're from my perspective, you're doing all the things right, not just as a physician, but as a businesswoman and an entrepreneur. I think, anytime we look at two things. We look at customer acquisition cost. It's a fancy way of saying how much money do you have to spend to get somebody to trust you, and then how much will they spend with you over time? Because it's much easier to keep your existing base and grow up on that than just be transactional. And I think, what I've seen over 15 years, the companies that continue to invest in R&D, invest in marketing, but make good products and advertise those products to do what they actually do, they've actually been the winners. Occasionally, this category is known for people coming in with this flash in the pan and then they're dead and gone. But we've tried to take a longer view of this category. And, if you were to go ask my employees who just had a fabulous Halloween party, what I want them to do, I just want to get more people every day to get HydraFacials. Because when we do that, it's real simple. People tell their friends, estheticians, physicians that provide the treatment say this is the best thing to do. So the evidence just shows we just need more people getting HydraFacials. And that isn't the case with all products. We just have a very social product. I think it's very approachable price point wise. you know, you really can't mess up a HydraFacial. You can only make it less effective in the consumer's mind. So we've got a couple magical ingredients that when you sprinkle them right, helps the entire practice. So the product's a pleasure to build a company around. I think we were a product company and then we were a product and services company. I think what you'll see now is we really want to work on making transformational experiences for our providers that translate into their consumers. And that's what's really exciting about the flexibility we have with our product offering.
Thank you. And you talked about the flexibility of the product offering itself, and it delivers that into my practice. So from a business point of view, yes, you know, it is one of the entry-level treatments that they can have, but one of the most results-driven and the one that generates the most patient loyalty in my practice. It wins every time, you know, and everybody wants to come back and have another go and another experience because it connects them with the way they feel, the way they see the gunk, and it's just beyond the treatment itself. Yeah. But you talk so much about, you know, the research behind, you know, every serum, every formulation, every tip. You know, there's a lot of R&D that goes behind the why before you even introduce something to market. And which is going to bring me now into CeraVe, you know, and I've actually got, you know, this has become part of my lifestyle. Awesome. And I'm not just saying that because you're there, because I am a HydraFacial user, you know, all of my team treat me, and we all have this now, because who does not want to have better quality hair, more luscious locks? You know, we get dehydrated seasonally here in the UK as well. But at the end of the day, if we're just treating hair, we're missing a massive trick, because the skin on the face evolves into the skin of the scalp. So I would just love to know how and why this came into play. You know, what kind of global consumer trends were you seeing that brought your product to market? Because I'm sure you spent a lot of time in that R&D department.
Yeah, it's, you know, luck has a little bit to do with it, to be real candid. I'm fortunate. I've got a thick head of hair. That's not an issue for me right now, but I did have a lot of male friends that were always complaining about losing their hair. But I didn't know much about the category. It's, you know, as a guy, you're like telling your buddy, okay, get over it, right? Just Vin Diesel's good looking, shave your head and you're fine. But it really traumatized a lot of my male friends. What I was completely unaware of is that female thinning of hair or balding is traumatic, and the emotional impact it has on women is far greater in many cases than for men. I was very fortunate. Dr. Amy Taub, well-known dermatologist out of Chicago, had been working on this formulation and had been trying to get the company to do a pilot. And she was very, very influential in convincing us to move forward with a formulation that she had perfected, because she had a large number of consumers, patients in her practice. And we're just really, really fortunate to bring it to market. We chose to focus on healthy scalp because, as I've learned, you know, losing your hair is multifactorial. So are the treatment regimens. And so much like our healthy skin approach, we wanted to go with healthy scalp because most people would agree that we're putting a whole lot of crud in our scalps. We rarely clean it. And so just decongesting it is a big first step. What's really nice is working with Dr. Taub is those ingredients that we're driving in through the infusion are really effective. And then the take-home product, if used in a compliant manner, really have some remarkable results. What we've tried not to do, the same with our healthy skin, is overpromise. So we've let the science with our providers speak for itself. We've used it more as a, you know, cleanse, extract, and then infuse type of product. And we're seeing some really nice global pickup. We launched right before the pandemic. We were crushing it. We seem to be back off to a strong start again. And I'm really excited to bring healthy scalp to the same size market share as our healthy skin. And what's really cool is I think women have certainly been enthusiasts of skincare, but have had very few options for their scalp. So that's exciting to bring it to the female marketplace. Men have known, and male baldness has primarily been a male-driven issue. We can help those men, but we think we can transfer them into then good skincare. So if it all works out the way it's been drawn up, it should be able to grow the category for all of us and offer consumers worldwide options they never had before in a very elegant way.
Well, you know, it's certainly so exciting to our audience here, but it's so new. You're absolutely right. When you launched, we went into lockdown, and you know, we were literally just about to escalate, and bang, it just all went quiet. Yeah. And now what we're seeing is our female patients are so curious, you know, and they're curious. They're kind of coming really slowly because everybody just wants to have a sneaky peek in to see what it's all about. know. But they're watching us have it. They're watching us on social media. We play a lot of emphasis on our social media channels as a means of educating and just showcasing what we're getting up to in-house. And what we've also brought in, Clint, to track and measure, because sure, we can see a result, we can feel, but we really wanted to track and physically see what's going on with the skin of the scalp. So we brought on board Canfield's hair metric system. And it's state-of-the-art AI software. Is all brand new to the world. I think there's only 40 systems out there so far. So we're in this journey with our patients with something brand new from your company, and we're saying, hey, we're in this new as well. So why don't you come on board and learn with us? If you trust HydraFacial, you're going to trust CeraVe.
Yeah.
So
that's incredibly inspiring and encouraging. We should stay really, really close on that together. We, what's tricky, you can with hair loss and hair growth, it's a little bit like acne, right? It's such a complicated treatment regimen, complicated to set expectations and results. So the more we can learn together and the better we can set expectations, I think, far better will be for that consumer marketplace. It's been a little challenging for us because it's our first treatment. It's very expensive to cultivate the product, to procure it, has a very short shelf life, and there's a regimen. So there's been things that have been challenging for us. And it's different than our cleanse, extract, hydrate for our signature treatments. So we're going to learn a lot together, and it's really important that it works, because if it works the way we believe it works and the way that we've seen in our own studies, this is priced at the really low end of effective medical grade treatments for what's really a traumatizing condition. So look forward to getting the data back and hearing from your consumers, Sharina, on how they like the treatment. It's going to help us all. I think one of the things I really like about this company is we've never overpromised. We try to over-deliver. We try to make it accessible, and we try to work with our partners. And being a good citizen has rewarded us. We're hoping that translates to healthy scalp in the same way.
Well, I look forward to sharing those results with you very soon. We've just got the first cohort of patients come back having had 2 treatments now. So they're a month apart. And I have to say, what's been fascinating is we looked at their first pictures, and obviously we didn't have anything to compare it to. So we thought, hey, so we were just saying what we could see. And now a month later, do you know what the most obvious thing is? A reduction in inflammation. That's my take on it.
Wow.
It's a reduction in inflammation on the skin of the scalp. Because what you just said earlier about it being a no-brainer to just unclog the pores and, work from within, it makes total sense, So that's what we're seeing. Redness reduction, just extraction. The follicles are, even more increased in number, but the redness and inflammation is much less.
We're really excited for it. I mean, I think we're going to learn a lot. We've got some next generation technologies queuing up. I think we'll learn more about the regimen, the pricing scheme. So I think we're going to learn a lot together, but I think we're off to a really promising start. And if this market is as big as the data shows, this is really going to be a welcome addition. When we first came out, we were deciding how to launch CeraVe, but a lot of people told me, why don't you do a separate system, and then physicians have to buy a new system for CeraVe. I don't think that you want to buy more equipment from us. I think you want to treat more consumers. So we really try to make that HydraFacial machine a workhorse for you. And so I thought it was important that we put it on the existing HydraFacial machine and give you more opportunities to use that machine. Because if we can open up that market for you, you'll buy 2 more systems. We just need to be able to drive the volume in there through marketing and through more accessibility to more skin conditions where HydraFacial is the preferential treatment. It's a pretty easy business model, and that's what we chose to do globally. So we'll learn a lot together.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. Well, Clint, I don't want to take up too much more of your time, but on an end note, I would love you to share a note of positivity with our audience here today. I think I'll speak on behalf of all of them that they've really enjoyed getting to know you, which is the man behind the brand. And, thank you for sharing all of your global insights, where you are today with HydraFacial and what we can expect to see as you continue to evolve as a company. But on a note of, is there anything of positivity you'd love to share with our patients today?
Yeah, thanks, Sharina. First, thanks so much for the invitation. This was a lot of fun. I could talk to you all day and look forward to seeing you live. Yeah, I think my only note of advice is, this has been a really tough year for humanity, for our consumers, for all of our providers. And, years ago when we rebranded the company, you may remember our moniker is Face Life, Face First, because we believe HydraFacial is about empowerment for our providers, empowerment from the consumers. Our employees feel that. We feel good about doing what we do each day. And so Face Life, Face First was a moniker made for today. And I think it's a combination of resiliency on one hand of the wheel and positivity on the other end of the wheel. And we'll drive through this together. So I'm looking forward to getting out and seeing everyone in person, because we're a social company. I'm a social guy. And while Zoom is effective, there's nothing like being out there and being able to meet our customers and our consumers in person. So we'll be there for you. And thanks for sticking with us. And I really appreciate the time today.
Thank you very much, Clint. And, on behalf of our patients and my team, I'd love to wish you all the very best in the next few months. And I look forward to hopefully meeting with you in 2021.